Does DeMar DeRozan want out of San Antonio? It has seemed like an awkward fit ever since he's been there, and now some anonymous agent is going out and saying he doesn't like San Antonio. He wants out. Now, DeMar has a player option worth $27 million. Probably going to pick that up because I don't think there's any team in the NBA that's going to give him $27 million, and for a good reason. This guy doesn't really fit the modern-day NBA. He's not a good three-point shooter. He's good at slashing and getting to the rim. He's still a good player. Trust me. I truly believe that, but he's not a championship piece. That is why the Raptors traded him away just a few years ago. Now, I do like DeMar, don't get me wrong. When you look at the numbers he puts up, he can still be a valuable contributor to a team. 22 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Those are solid numbers, but he's putting these numbers up on a very mediocre San Antonio team. Still shooting the ball efficiently at 53%, but we know he gets all of his shots from the mid-range and at the rim, and teams have begun to figure him out. Now, CBS recently put out an article that said, hey, if the Spurs do look to trade DeMar DeRozan, these are the 5 teams that will probably be calling them about a trade. They said the Detroit Pistons, which, frankly, I don't understand unless they really can't get rid of Blake Griffin, and they're trying to go for, I guess, a 7 or 8 seed in the Eastern Conference. I don't really like that fit. The Orlando Magic, I don't hate that one because they're a young team that is verging on the edge of pushing into like a further playoff spot, and DeMar might be able to push them over the edge. The Lakers, simply because DeMar is a Los Angeles native and because anyone who's anyone apparently is going to go to the Lakers at some point. The Knicks, no. And then the Toronto Raptors. That's the team I'm the most interested in. I would like to see him return to Toronto because I do think he could fit well if he went back there with Kyle Lowry, but I'm afraid that relationship might just be a bit too strained for it to happen once again, but it's at least interesting. And we got some more players we're going to talk about later on in this show, including Andre Drummond and Gordon Hayward. But of the 4 guys you see on the screen right now, which of these 4 do you think are the most likely to be traded? Type VO for Victor Oladipo, AD for Andre Drummond, GH for Gordon Hayward, or DD for DeMar DeRozan. Get your votes in down below. Let me know the most likely of these 4 that could get traded this offseason. Andre Drummond has had some drama in Cleveland ever since he got moved there from the Detroit Pistons. The Cavs are not sold on giving him long-term money, as I recently reported on Chat Sports, and he also has a big-time player option at $28 million. But apparently, the Celtics are keeping a close eye on what's going on with Andre Drummond and the Boston Celtics, and they might look to make an off-season trade for him if he should become available. Now, Drummond has always put up big numbers. He has always been one of the league's best rebounders, and he's always scored in double-digit figures since he got drafted to the Detroit Pistons. The problem is he has never contributed to winning. He has always put up these big numbers on bad teams, and a lot of people just say they're empty stats. And don't get me wrong, 17 points and 15 rebounds per game is hard to come by, and it's not normal. But the reason he's not winning games is because he's not really adjusting his game to fit today's NBA. In an NBA where big men need to shoot and run the floor, Drummond is slow and can't stretch the floor at all. That's why he's been such an awkward fit everywhere he's gone. But the Celtics are at least interested because they don't have a true big man. Now, if you're a Celtics fan, you got to subscribe to our new Celtics channel, chatsports.com/CelticsTV. On the last video, I asked you guys to get us 100 new subscribers on that channel, and you did it just like that. So hit that link down below, click it, go ahead and put it in a new tab, chatsports.com/CelticsTV. They're going to have a super fun offseason. You're going to want to keep track of it with us here on Chat Sports, so make sure you go and subscribe today. Now, if the Celtics were to offer a trade for Andre Drummond, I think it could look something like this. The Celtics get Drummond, duh. And the Cavaliers, I think you got to start with Gordon Hayward to make the money work. You throw in Vincent Poirier because if you don't have the flying Frenchman in there, then you have too many centers on your roster. And you trade away your 2 late first-round picks. So don't include that lottery pick, but 26 and 30 because I'm going to be honest. Drummond's trade value, I just don't think is that high right now. And I think all the Cavs care about is getting younger. And with draft picks, that happens. And then you throw Gordon Hayward in there, see if he becomes anything for Cleveland, and at least keeps him interesting. Plus, Hayward's just on a 1-year deal. He's just a 1-year rental. No risk or no harm done there for Cleveland. Now, if you get Drummond on this Boston team, I mean, on paper, this team should do a lot of damage. You got one of the best point guards in Kemba Walker, although he had a tough playoff showing. That's okay. Apparently, Brad Stevens says he was dealing with a lot at that time. You got to throw Marcus Smart into the starting lineup there, even though they like him coming off the bench. Jaylen Brown in there, of course. Jason Tatum, one of the league's best scorers. And now you've got Drummond in the middle to get all the rebounds so that nobody else has to worry about them. Plus, he's not a great defender, but he can at least protect the rim better than a Daniel Tice type guy could for Boston. The question for Boston has always been, can they get a big man in there with all of their great wings? They haven't had one. They've kind of had a rotating door with guys like Cantor, Robert Williams. Obviously, they had a Horford a little bit, Daniel Tice. It's a very interesting mix, but if Drummond could go there, I think it makes too much sense. But do you think Drummond would be a good fit in Boston? Type your Y for yes or type your N for no. And although he's not a great fit in today's NBA, in Boston, I think he'd be a perfect fit. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Let's go back to Gordon Hayward and talk about him just a little bit more. The Indiana Pacers are beginning to show some interest in a Gordon Hayward offseason trade. Now, Hayward has that $34 million player option, but he really was showing some flashes of his old self when he was healthy with Boston. Now, I put together another trade package here, and I think the Celtic fans are going to like this one. Miles Turner goes to Boston in exchange for Gordon Hayward. I think you got to give up that number 14 pick and that number 30 overall pick. Look, the Pacers have always kind of been back and forth on what they're going to do with Miles Turner. Is he a fit with Sabonis or isn't he? Boston has always had its eye on Miles Turner, who would be a much better fit at the center position than Andre Drummond is because he can shoot and he is a true rim protector. And if you can get him in a trade for Gordon Hayward, I don't think Boston should have any trouble giving up that number 14 and that number 30 pick to offload Hayward's contract and bring in a center that fits today's NBA so well. I love this idea of Miles Turner going to Boston, and I think Gordon Hayward to Indiana makes some sense as well. His numbers last year when healthy was 18 points per game and 38% from three. Not bad, but, nothing that's crazy, so that's why you have to include those draft picks as well to entice Indiana to do this deal. But you saw my trade idea. I want you guys to let me know who you think would say no to this one. So it's basically Gordon Hayward and a couple nice picks for Miles Turner and a second rounder. So who says no? Type C for the Celtics or type P for the Pacers. One more time, recapping that trade for you. Turner and the 54th pick go into Boston for Indiana for Gordon Hayward, 14th overall pick, and the 30th overall pick. So again, let me know who says no. Type your C for Celtics, type your P for the Pacers. And I got to be honest, I think both teams could say yes on this one, but if anyone says no, I think it might be the Indiana Pacers. Let's talk about Deni Avdija, the top international prospect in this year's draft. He recently worked out with the Golden State Warriors, and the Warriors were super impressed all the way through. Not just the actual workout, but also the sit-down interview that they had with the 19-year-old kid out of Israel. Now, Golden State, of course, has that number 2 overall pick, and there's no word on what they're going to do with it. Are they going to trade it? Are they going to keep it? Are they going to draft somebody? Are they going to trade down? I don't know, but we do know they liked what they saw out of Avdija in their workouts. Now, when he was playing overseas, Avdija averaged 9 points per game, 5 boards, 2 assists, didn't shoot the ball all that well, and I know what you're saying. Okay, these numbers are not that good, but you got to remember, he was playing in a professional league, so his minutes were a little bit lower than you would expect, not getting those kind of college kid type minutes. That's why the numbers don't really jump off the page to you. Now, if you're a Warriors fan, you want to know what they're going to do with that number 2 pick or what they're going to do with Andrew Wiggins or what they're going to do all offseason long. Hey, guess what? We have a Warriors channel, youtube.com/WarriorsTV. It's already up to 4,000 subscribers, which is insane. It's mind-blowing, but I'm not satisfied. I want to get to 5,000 subscribers. So hit that link down below. Make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/WarriorsTV. Here's what The Athletic was told about the Warriors workout of Deni Avdija. He said, by all accounts, it was a positive get-together, one in which the 19-year-old Israeli impressed observers. Not only did Avdija perform well in the workouts, but Warriors officials were blown away after meeting with him. The universal takeaway was that he's a great kid with an immense work ethic. And you can see that being blown away is pretty incredible. So let's say they keep that number 2 pick. I don't think Avdija starts. And I think that's perfect for him and the Warriors because they can roll out a starting five of three guys that know what it takes to win in Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. A kid that's still growing and still has a lot of room to improve in Andrew Wiggins. Maybe your starting center is Kevon Looney. Maybe it's Marquise Chris. You bring in Deni Avdija as a backup wing alongside young guys like Jordan Poole, Eric Pascal, and Damian Lee. I think this would be a perfect fit. Just not sure I'd take him at number 2. Now, that's what they could do at number 2. But what do you think they should do with the number 2 overall pick? Should they trade it or should they keep it? Type your T for trade and type your K for keep. Personally, I think they should trade it and try to get some more win-now talent. But if they do keep it, I think there are a lot of good moves that could be made, like taking an Avdija or maybe taking a guy like James Wiseman or Anthony Edwards. Now, the Warriors had another pre-draft workout with both Edwards and James Wiseman. And again, were blown away. So we know at this point the Warriors have had at least 3 workouts with 3 different players, or have worked out at least 3 different players, and the latest 2 are Edwards and Wiseman. Now you see Edwards has a much larger sample size when he was playing at Georgia last season, played in 32 games and put up 19 points per game. He's the guy that I expect the Minnesota Timberwolves to take at number 1, but James Wiseman, he could be going at number 1, but probably not because Karl-Anthony Towns is there. But if he's there at 2, could make some sense for a team that needs a true big man, but we got such a small sample size out of him in just 3 games in his time at Memphis. Now, again, here's the Athletics report on what Edwards and Wiseman did in the pre-draft workout. It said Wiseman is a big and as skilled as advertised. They also liked him when they had their conversation or interview or whatever it was. Edwards' exceptional athleticism jumped out in person. He seemed to really impress the Warriors with his, quote, freakishness. Now, here's the deal. If Anthony Edwards is there at number 2, you don't pass on him. You absolutely take him. Is he a franchise player? Probably not. But could he be the 2nd or 3rd best player on a future championship team? Absolutely. Is he a perfect team on Golden State? No. Or a perfect fit on Golden State, No, he's not. But when you have that kind of talent available at 2, you take him. So of the 2 guys they worked out, I want you guys to let me know who you think the Golden State Warriors should draft. James Wiseman or Anthony Edwards. Type your JW if you think it should be James Wiseman, which would fill more of a need for them, or type your AE for Anthony Edwards, which I think if the talent is there, you got to take him at number 2.